Today we are going to discuss the receptor concept. We use this term very commonly, receptors. So what is mean by receptors? Receptors are the macromolecules. Receptors are the macromolecules which are present on the cell surface, or in the cytoplasm or in the nucleus. So here you can see, if these are the receptors which are macromolecules and where they are present on the cell surface, or they may be present in the cytoplasm, or they may present inside the nucleus or in the nucleus. So these receptors are nothing but the macromolecules which are present on the cell surface, in the cytoplasm or in the nucleus, with which the drug binds and interact. So on these receptors, this drug will going to bind, and this drug will going to interact with the receptors, and there is a formation of drug receptor complex. What is drug receptor complex? When drug bind and interact with the receptors, there is a formation of drug receptor complex to produce the cellular changes in the form of response. Now for that we should know what is mean by affinity and intrinsic activity. Affinity means ability of the drug to get bound with the receptor. What is affinity? Affinity means ability of the drug to get bound with the receptors. Then we can say that particular drug is having affinity. Affinity means attraction, means ability of a drug to get bound with the receptor. So particular drug has affinity to that particular receptor. Then the intrinsic activity, ability of the drug to produce conformational changes, or it will produce pharmacological action after combining or binding with the receptor. That is intrinsic activity. What is intrinsic activity? Ability of the drug to produce conformational changes, or to produce pharmacological actions after binding with the receptor or after combining with the receptor. Means for any response, these two things are very important. First is the affinity, means that particular drug should get bound with the receptor, and after that, if it has some intrinsic activity, it will produce conformational changes in the receptor. It will produce conformational changes, or it will produce pharmacological action after combining with the receptor. What are the various examples of receptor? Most common, adrenergic receptors, we all know. Alpha receptors, beta receptors. Alpha receptors are subdivided into alpha 1, alpha 2. Beta receptors are subdivided into beta 1 receptors, beta 2 and beta 3.